YouTube, what's going on? Brian Taft Golf TV here, coach for the Jack Nicklaus Academy in Orlando, Florida. Here it is. Here's the first video, in a long time that's going to be golf related. I told you guys in my update video that was released yesterday that I wanted to start off with kind of taking you through a short game assessment that you can use to evaluate where your short game is and identify some of the areas that you need to work on so that you can get better around the greens, start making better scores. And then I'm also going to be associating a tip to each of the stations that we're going to go through here. So the short game assessment, which I've challenged my friends Rick Shiels and Peter Finch to film as well, so that you guys can kind of see their perspective of what they're thinking on certain shots as well as my own. Is going to go like this. There's going to be 8 different stations. We're going to hit 10 balls from each station. You can use any club that you want from the station except for your putter, and where one of the stations is going to be a cut lob shot, and that has to be your most lofted wedge. It's going to be 4 points for getting the ball in the hole. It'll be 2 points for getting it inside of 3 feet, and 1 point between 3 and 6 feet, and 0 points for outside of 6 feet. So over the course of those 10 shots, we're going to add up the scores as we go along. Keep the scores for each of the 8 stations, add them up at the end. Whoever has the highest score at the end of the 8 stations wins. This is not something that I developed on my own. This came from Dave Pelz, who some of you know is one of the most respected short game instructors, one of the leading golf researchers. Works with a ton of different PGA Tour players, and he's kind of developed this system to create what he calls a short game handicap. So you have your overall handicap for, when you go out to play a course. You could be a scratch, you could be a 5, you could be a 15, you could be a +5. Whatever it is, you have that handicap. What he's created here is these series of stations is going to give you what would be your short game handicap. Since we know that the short game leads to about 60% of the overall handicap, this is going to be a really important number for you guys at home to know, and to know how to improve. So to figure out where you're weak, where you can get better, and go from there. So the first station that we're gonna go to is a 10-yard chip shot from Fringe. Okay, so I've got that set up here. I've also got a taped off section around the hole up there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not, but I'll show you when I get done. That's 3 feet around. For anything that's questionable between 3 and 6 feet, I'll just use a wedge to measure it. My wedge is about 36 inches, which is 3 feet, so that would give me my 6-foot circle. I'll probably hit the first 2 and then speed up the video, and I'll do that for most of the stations so that this doesn't end up being like a 35-40 minute video. All right, so let's get to it. For this station, I've selected a 52-degree wedge, just for those of you at home to kind of follow along and see what's going on. And I'll explain kind of the thought process behind each shot. Not a whole lot of trouble in front of me. I just want to get the ball on the green and let it start running towards the hole. Okay, so there's my 10 shots from the first station, which is a 10-yard chip. So I mishit that first one a little bit. I've got 1 here that's outside of 3 feet, and I've got 9, barely 9, that are all inside of that 3 feet circle. Okay, so here we are for station 2 of our 8 stations. Again, we're going to be hitting 10 shots this time. We're going to be hitting a 20-yard chip shot from a light rough as opposed to a fringe type lie. I'm going to stick with my 52-degree wedge for this one. I still kind of want to see the ball getting on the green and rolling forward. All right, there we go. All right, so we got one in there, got the last one to drop. Let's go up there and take a look at them and see how we did. Okay, so I've got two that are outside of 6 feet, so 0 points for those two, but I did manage to hold one there. And then I've got 5 inside of 3 feet, and I've got 2 between 3 and 6 feet. Okay, so here's our third station. For this station, we've got 10 shots. They're going to be 10 50-yard kind of pitch shots into the green. So we're going to use the same flag. We still got the marker around it. I'm going to change clubs now. I'm not going to go with the 52. I'm going to go to my sand wedge, 58-degree sand wedge. Try and fly it in there with a little bit of height. Hopefully I can stop a few close to the hole. Alright, so I'm going to need a little more than that. Okay, so there it is. I've got 3 inside of 3 feet from 50 yards, and I've got 1 in between 3 and 6 feet. Okay, our fourth station of the day is going to be a 30-yard wedge shot. I'm going to go with my 58-degree sand wedge again. Okay, so here we are. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 inside of 6 feet, 2 inside of 3 feet, and 4 outside of 6 feet. Time for our fifth location. This one's going to be a 15-yard pitch shot. I'm going to go with a 58-degree wedge. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are inside of 3 feet, 3 that are inside of 6 feet, and 1 that is outside of 6 feet. Sixth station. This is going to be a 15-yard cut lob shot. So this is a shot that has to be played with your highest lofted wedge. For me, that's a 64-degree wedge. What we're looking for here on this shot is a lot of height and not a whole lot of roll. So we basically want to fly it all the way there and just get it to stop. So looks like, let me back this up a little bit. We've got 3 inside of 3 feet. We've got 2 that are definitely inside of 6 feet, and 1 that calls for a measurement here. So let me go ahead and knock this out of the way. Put my wedge down, and we're just outside there. So here we are in the bunker for our 7th assessment. This is going to be an 8-yard bunker shot, very short bunker shot. I've selected a 64-degree wedge. This is a shot that I like to play, club that I like to use for this kind of shot. So go ahead, hit our 10 shots, and then count them up. Obviously I don't have an area taped off over on this practice area. I've had to kind of have a makeshift hole here for me to finish up these last two. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and drop down there and put my wedge down so you guys can see where 3 feet is and count them up from there. Okay, so the final total for the 8-yard bunker shot was 5 inside of 3 feet and 4 inside of 6 feet and 1 that kind of got away from me there a little bit. Last skill assessment, we're going to do have a 15-yard bunker shot here, so a little bit longer bunker shot. I've grabbed a 58-degree wedge for this as opposed to a 64. A little bit flatter lie, same pin. Hit them and score them. So here we are up the hole there on the 15-yard bunker shot. I've got 3 that are inside of 3 feet, 2 that are inside of 6 feet, and the other 5 are gone. That was our short game skills assessment. And what we did there was we went through those 8 stations and hit the shots and kept track of the points, which I had running for you on the screen there so you could see how I did on each station, and then came up with a final total of points. What this can do for your game, if you go through and set up this assessment and go through it, you'll find out that there are certain parts of your short game that may be better than others. So for me, I really... my lower point totals were on like the 50-yard wedge shot and the 15-yard cut lob. Knowing that those were the weak areas that I had in my short game going through this assessment, it tells me what I need to work on when I have the time to go practice. So now I'm not just spending time hitting a ton of chip shots or a ton of pitch shots from an area that I'm already pretty good at. I can really hone in on the things that I need to work on more that are going to increase my opportunities to get up and down when I'm out there playing. So as I said at the beginning of the video, and I've got the Dave Pell's book here, so everyone knows where that's coming from, we determined that this was going to give us a number of a handicap for our short game. So after going through all of that and doing the scoring, what I'll transpose for you down at the bottom of the screen in the description is kind of what your score would equate to as a short game handicap. For myself, I had 95 points finishing up the test, so I was right between 93 and 97, which would leave me with a short game handicap of about 4.5. Being a professional, 4.5, handicap is not bad, because hopefully we're not missing every green and every approach and having to get up and down every time. But it gives me a good kind of baseline measurement for where I'm at and where I can go through from there. For my students that I work with, I like to have them go through this assessment, and we'll go back and revisit it from time to time to measure how well their practice sessions are going and measure their improvement in a way so that we have a direction that we know we're going to go in when we start working on certain things in their swing. I'd like to say thanks for having some patience and watching the video. I know that some of the camera work wasn't exactly perfect. Those are some things that I'll get better at as I continue going on and continue filming more videos. When you're out there by yourself and the camera that I'm using not being able to see exactly where you are all the time, I understand can create some interesting camera angles, and some some of the audio wasn't exactly perfect. But those are things that I'm going to work on as I continue. So if you want to connect with me on Twitter, Facebook, the links for that will be in the description. If you want to figure out how you can train with me or how you can get lessons, I'll also put a link to the Nicholas Golf Academy website down there. And post your comments about how you're doing, if this is something that you're going to try. Like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more content.